I can't do this anymore. Left my past all on the floor. I've been trying to keep it moving. Now we going north, going up 2, 3, up 2, 3. Got this joy inside of me because I can't do this anymore. Left my past all on the floor. I've been trying to keep it moving. Now we going north, going up 2, 3, up 2, 3. Got this joy inside of me because I got the key. We've been really moving places, always on the low. I was shining in the tunnel cause I got the glow.
Hey,
People really hating it, really start to show. Yeah, we gon' level.
All right, what's going on out there, YouTube? You know what it is. It's RealRam TLee. How y'all doing? As y'all know, that music is provided to you by my son and his crew, Taking Back September. I can hit them up on SoundCloud, YouTube, and wherever you can stream your music. So today, what we have for you is going to be a panel with military spouses, and we're going to talk about all the misconceptions that folks may have about being in the military, the questions that folks have as soon as they hear that your loved one is in the military. For instance, y'all know, or if you're new to my channel, I was in the Air Force. My husband is in the Air Force. And as soon as someone hears that, everyone wants to go, is he a pilot? No, not everybody in the Air Force is a pilot. First of all, there's things called enlisted and officers, and you have to be an officer in order to be a pilot. And my husband is not an officer, and I was not an officer. So pilots, that's not everybody in the Air Force. Got with me today, I got Brandy. She's a fellow Air Force spouse, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hi guys, so my name's Brandy. I have been married with my husband for 7 years. He has been in the military for 13 years. He's been in the Reserve, Guard, and Active, and then we just recently moved here to the East Coast a year ago. I go to school for my Bachelor's of Science and History, and I'm also a housing advocate for Hunt here on our base that we're located at. And I am also the Director of Media and Public Relations for Safe Military Housing Initiative. So,
right. Thank you, Brandy, for being here. So,
thank you.
All right, and right on time, we got Sabrina coming in.
Hello.
All right, Sabrina, if you can introduce yourself for the people.
Hi, Sabrina Baldwin. My northern husband, Caleb Baldwin.
He done messed up her line and everything. He wanted to spam the cam. Sabrina is an Army wife. I can't do the whole thing for you though, Sabrina.
Sabrina Baldwin, Army wife, mom of 5, been in for 13 years.
Hurry up, girl.
Yeah. Been a while.
Yeah. So where I was gonna start at, Brandy said her husband has been Guard, Reserve, and Active. So for those who may tune in later, can you tell them what is Guard and Reserve?
So Guard and Reserve is state first, so you will see them a lot locally versus active duty, to where they specifically are nationwide, where they really deploy in their kind of country. Guard and Reserve, again, they deploy a lot. They deploy every few years. It depends on their job. You know, and they're really small organizations. They do a lot of different missions, and it just really depends. Some states may have a Guard unit, some may not. But they're really kind of tight-knit. The main difference between Guard and Reserve and Active is that Guard and Reserve don't move. Active duty to PCS is to different bases, but the Guard and Reserve stay put unless you decide to move to another state, because a lot of Guard and Reserve have civilian jobs. And active duty is Title 10 versus Guard and Reserve, they're Title 32. And that just means kind of Guard and Reserve, you have to stay in a little bit longer before you could retire to get your retirement pay, versus active duty, to where after you retire, you get it right away. That's a little quick brief description on guard. There's a little bit more.
Is that me causing this echo? That's what I want to know. Okay. Thank you for that. We got our first question. I take it that this question must be for me. Did I enjoy the military? I enjoyed the fact that it gave me a steady income. I had my own life, my own friends, and I guess overall, it's not cliche that it gave me discipline. But it gave me more appreciation for customs and courtesies and stuff like that, and the understanding of what military individuals go through, as well as first responders. I appreciate first responders a lot more now. That next question. Why? Oh, it's for everyone? It's for everyone. Oh, the question is for everyone. So, if you know why your spouse joined.
Well, I mean, I grew up in a military family, so I kind of knew I was always going to marry a military man. And he really joined to gain a lot of leadership experiences and travel, and also schooling. That was a big one. But also, he loved the military, and he really wanted to make a difference wherever he could. Touch lives of airmen coming in, share his experiences, help them in any way he can.
Sabrina, why did Caleb join?
Hold on. No. I'm sorry, I'm running from kids. Okay. He said he joined because
I read that backwards. Did you enjoy it?
Sorry.
I said I read them backwards. It's why did you join it, and did you enjoy it?
Oh.
So both questions.
I wouldn't technically say.
Uh-oh. She gone.
Oops. Well, while we're waiting for her to get back, I will say I enjoyed the guard more than active.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I personally did. And it's interesting because I think it's because the guard, you become more of a family in a way versus active duty. When you constantly move around, it's like you can make friends all over the place, but it also could be very lonely. And depending on if you have kids, if you don't have kids, age range, are you an officer, are you enlisted, it can become a big struggle, and it causes a lot of families. Depression's a big thing in the military, and it's something I see constantly. I've experienced myself, because starting over is a great experience every time you move, but it also could be kind of anxiety could set in, and you can get really depressed because then maybe you don't make a lot of friends at one base. It's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? Just go to work, come home, or stay home, raise kids, or, and just kind of get in this routine that could just be so stressful. And that's one of the big issues I don't think people realize that you do deal with. So that's the thing with active duty that I had trouble first with, is kind of getting into this new life, versus with the guard, you really grow with everybody and you get to know everyone. You're able to kind of keep work and friendship separate. And you get a routine to where it's almost like you're growing your roots there, versus when you always have to uproot them and leave.
Yeah, for sure. So we wrote down some. Well, I answered Air Force. The assumption is that everyone is a pilot. What has been your Air Force experience?
Mine or Sabrina's?
Yours. No, Sabrina's Army.
Oh, she's not. Oh, so my Air Force experiences. I always hear the pilot too, because kind of that's the first thing you see with the movies. When you, especially with active duty, there's so many different jobs that you can do in the Air Force. Whether it's, like you said, security forces, force support, which those people deal with like fitness, dining facilities, lodging. They have everyone from intelligence to, communications. I mean, there's so many different outlets that you can do, which in the Guard, that you have those jobs, LRS and stuff, but they're a little bit smaller. So, and sometimes your opportunities may not be as big as active duty, especially with the Air Force. But yeah, there's a lot more than what people think that you can do in the Air Force. That's for sure.
So, Sabrina, do you want to restate your Army thing, or you want me to say it for you? You muted.
Oh.
I muted because I was fussing at kids. My bad. You can say.
Okay. So their experience has been that he must enjoy killing people. So I guess that's what people are thinking about the Army. And I'm going to assume, for the Marines, that it must be the same too. When someone hears somebody's a Marine, they must be like, you must enjoy killing people, or how is it killing people? Have you ever killed anybody? Like that's got to be the first question that they get asked.
Another question we get asked a lot is that does he suffer from PTSD? Has he killed anyone? Has he seen action when he deployed? So it's like, I'm like, no.
Yeah. And why is that even, hold on, someone's texting. Why is that even a good first question?
Yeah, like, oh, your husband's in the military? Has he seen action?
Yeah.
They've been watching too many movies.
Exactly. I think that's the biggest can't even talk right now. That's the biggest thing. They assume that the military is like movies. And I'm like, no, he's at a computer most of the day and then he's home.
Yeah. But one thing, my husband would use the movies to explain what he did. Like his first job when he was ground radio, what he would say to people, he's like, when you watch the movies, and the guy who's got the radio on his back so he can call in the airstrike, he's like, I'm the guy with the radio on his back. That's how he would explain it. Like, you already don't want people to think that you're going to war, but us, that's what helped people.
And they assume Caleb's just running at somebody with a gun, like he's just the first to battle.
Yeah,
he's not doing that.
No, because they can't. I don't know. People just I don't know.
I think that's all Hollywood. It really is. I mean, you look at all these shows with military, they're the movies that are based on true stories that are true. But then there are shows like Army Wives, for instance, where you can, they bring up scenarios that could happen or did happen, but that's not every day. That's not the typical military everyday life. And every base is different too. Army, Air Force, Navy. I mean, man.
Yeah. For sure. And then my second son said that another question, what did he say? Let's see. He said, I forgot. That's why he was supposed to tune in for his own self and put his question in. I forgot what he said. But here's another question right here. What are your thoughts on super patriots?
I haven't heard that term. Define super.
Yeah, I have to explain that.
I'm not sure if he's watching, but I'm sure what he means are those people who are all gung ho about the flag and saluting and all of that. Got something to say about, you know, what you do.
I think we in the military. I think in the military we no matter what branch you are, when you run into a military family, it's like you automatically have a connection and a respect for that family, and we all kind of understand each other and what we all go through. So, I mean, I grew up in a very military family, patriotic family. But again, I think it's that, you hear, you read, yeah, we stand for the flag, or we have our own opinions, but we also have understanding and respect. I think, that unfortunately that I feel separates kind of the civilian world versus military world. And unless you really either grew up in it or are a part of, a branch, it's sometimes can be hard for someone to understand, especially without going into like other issues going on. I think it could be hard for a civilian to understand exactly why, but we're not running around up and down the street with a flag. You don't see a flag on every single military house on base.
No. No.
Looks like a typical town.
Yeah. So that's like the question. I don't know how you do it. So it's like, how do we do what? What is it that we're doing?
What are we doing? I hate that question. Like, I don't know how you do it. Do what? I don't know.
It's our life. It's the life that we chose.
Exactly. I mean, I guess it's no different than being married to a civilian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just their job.
Yeah, it's just their job. I think we see it as their job. Mm-hmm. And there's no getting used to anything. Whatever happens, you just like, oh, okay. And then you just adapt to the situation until they come back or something else changes. I think it's a constant changing and adapting to whatever is going on. But I don't know what it is to answer that question.
Yeah.
I'm like, tell me what it is, and then I'll tell you.
And
the thing I get from that.
Go ahead, Brandy.
Oh, the thing I get from that is if people ask me that question, how do you do it? It always goes back to like a deployment. And it's like, well, I get my own bed for 6 months.
Exactly.
I mean, I get a break. It's kind of.
I get a break from daily cleaning. I get a break from lots of.
I mean, and deployments can be hard. You kind of have to have a humor behind it, to kind of get through it. And I think in our generation, we have technology now that's really made it a lot easier versus, say, our grandparents or parents' generation, to where they didn't have all these outlets to really video somebody when they're deployed. I would say they had it harder, 50, even 30 years ago versus now. But deployments can be hard. It's more of make sure you have all the resources and you prepare yourself and you seek out, people who have been through it to help you along. And have humor behind it too, do something, a routine to really just keep you engaged. And before you know it, they'll be back. You're going to want them gone again.
Yeah.
Like, when you going to the field, man? Like, gosh.
Yeah. So this comment is a segue into what I was about to say next. Yeah, most civilians don't know what it's like. But, the church that we were members of in North Carolina helped me realize, pastors are gone a lot. The first responders, truck drivers, like they go through that stuff. And like, I didn't realize that. Like, I knew truck drivers, that's what they do. They're always on the road. They're always gone. But you just don't think, you don't really you
don't hear about that
the same, right? Because just as they say, we chose this life, yeah, they chose a trucker. They knew that person was a trucker. That's what they do.
Mhm.
They're supposed to go up and down these roads all the time, but
Mhm.
they're still people too. They still have a family who
Mhm.
have to
Well,
do it without them.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, it's like firefighters and people who work in the oil fields, whether it's out in the Gulf past Louisiana or in the Midwest. I mean, they're gone as well. I mean, military is not the only job where your spouse is gone. Um, there are other jobs out there. And it's just kind of, again, when you decide to live this life, it's kind of like you prepare for it in a way. And then if it's new to you, you really want to find those outlets. But we're not the only job that our spouses are gone. So,
So the next misconception that people have, which we kind of touched on a little bit, I think, is that people believe that in the military that we have a lot of money, or just that we don't struggle, and that's not true. There's a portion of
ramen.
military folks who are on food stamps.
Not for us enlisted. We not. Mm-mm.
Yeah. We on food stamps, not me, but enlisted folks, they on food stamps too.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
and even if you're a new officer, you still don't make much unless you put on a star. I mean, it's really, if someone could easily Google your military pay chart
Yep.
and the years, and I'll say this again, my husband, and I'll say this, and I have no shame, he's been in 13 years and he does not get paid over $40,000.
Yeah.
We are in the military provided basic housing allowance if we want to live off base, but if we live on, we don't see that at all, and we get our normal paycheck. And when it comes to the percent raises, like I said before we started, that's like gas money. I mean, it's one of those things that you really don't get paid much at all, and you don't get paid overtime. You don't get normal raises like you would in a civilian job. It's
I
not
think
$15 an hour.
me and my husband sat down and we like averaged it out or whatever for that time being, and he ended up making less than minimum wage an hour. Like if you wrote it down, everything, and it was like ended up being like $4 or $5 an hour,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah. I think we have more stability. I think no matter what we do, if he takes time off, he doesn't lose any money.
Yeah.
So it's more stability than rich because
Right.
we are by far like not rich.
Yeah.
It's like we know we're going to get a paycheck. The only time it becomes a concern is if the government doesn't pass the bill, we don't get paid. And so it can, for some families who are new to this life, it can be a shock.
Mhm.
When they're like, wait, we don't get paid. What's happening? I'm waiting for living paycheck to paycheck. We need to do this bill and this bill and this bill. It could be is where it could be a stressor. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just more that we know that we're always going to get paid unless something like that happens.
Honestly, I don't think they see the military, the soldiers, as government employees, because if something happens like that, we're the first to be cut, budgeted. So
Yeah.
I don't think they even noticed that. Like recently, they failed to sign the bill in time or something like that. And I know USAA and Navy Federal, they get their pay earlier sometimes. Well, most of the time. We didn't get that pay. So we had to wait until 15th, which is, we get paid on 1st and 15th. But we didn't get that. So it's just like, what if they don't sign and we don't get paid on the 15th?
Yeah. People don't get it because, like you said, get cut. They don't get it because every time they talk about the budget and the government, they always say, well, the national defense isn't going to get touched. And they just think national defense automatically means military budget. But every time they say it, what do they immediately follow it up with? They immediately follow it up with war stuff.
Yep.
We're not talking about the people who got cut, how they downsizing the military and how they are cutting, closing bases, and like no, y'all really don't understand what all this stuff means.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, out there in the civilian world, yeah, you get a raise, you get bonuses, you get overtime pay, and they get awards.
Mm-hmm.
They get more metal on their chest, you know.
It's a great decorator. It's a good door stopper.
It's shiny metal. I'm like, no, we don't need it.
Yeah.
You need an extra 1,000. That'd be great.
I know my husband hates that too. Like, if it's here's one thing. I don't know about like Army, but if it's something, okay, so now that he's working with State Department, so if he did his job, you know, he set up something so that this event can happen. And you know, State Department, they got to get recognized for what they did, you know. And so now they want to give my husband a medal, right? Because they can pay State Department,
Mm-hmm.
pay my husband. You know, you can't pay military people, so you want to give him his medal. He's like, man, I don't want no medal or no certificate. You know what I'm saying? I just did my job, like.
Yeah.
Do the event if I don't do my job. Like, don't give me no medal for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was a 1 and a 2 striper, you know, yeah, that stuff meant something. But you know, when you were E8, you know, he hates it. He was always like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he don't care.
Yeah, same here. It's just almost like an image thing. You get a medal, you get a coin, you get a certificate. It's like, yeah, that's great and fine, but that's not really putting food on the table, and that may or may not help them with promotion. I mean, it's just
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's competitive in a way to where it's annoying. I mean, and it's just one of those things where it's just like, this is, you're missing the mark, people.
Yeah. Especially because it might not help with promotion. Like,
Yep. And then you don't get that little raise.
Exactly. So we talked to Army. We'll go over to Army. That people assume, and I was one of those people, that assumed that just because they had airborne on their uniform, that meant that they jumped out of planes. And so that's not necessarily true. It just means that they are in an airborne unit.
Yep.
They have to earn their
wings.
airborne patch.
Yep. You got to earn your wings. You have to actually go to school and jump. I can't remember how often you have to jump, but you have to consistently jump to keep those wings.
Yeah.
So just because you have an airborne patch doesn't mean you are airborne. You could be a leg in an airborne unit.
Yeah. So what is a leg, Sabrina?
It's just somebody that don't jump. It took me a while to catch on to it because he's like, yeah, those legs over there. I'm like, legs? What? Then I'm like, oh, because you're airborne. I got it.
Yeah. So again, sometimes some people did think that all Army jump out of planes, or as some people like to see the battles between the services. Mm-hmm. You know, that's one of the things. Is someone will say to the Army, like, why do you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane? So,
I heard. Look, if that question is extra pay.
Definitely. Another thing, people assume that we move around a lot because we're military.
Yeah, and for me, we've been married for almost 13 years, and he's been in, I want to say, look, I don't know. I know he retired in 6 years, but never mind, go into it. 3 times. We lived in North Carolina for 8 years, and then we moved to Louisiana for 5 years. And then now we just recently moved to Ohio. So I've only been in Yeah, only twice since being married to a soldier.
Yeah. No, most other than y'all though, most Army people that I have met did move around a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know like a lot of people do move a lot, but I haven't had that experience. I literally went into it thinking, okay, every 2 to 3 years
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna move. Like I literally didn't make any friends in North Carolina for the first couple of years because I knew I had it. We were gonna move, so what's the point in trying to gain those relationships? And I knew I had to lose them. And then 1 year went by, 2, 3, 4, and I'm like, hold up, we ain't going nowhere. That's when I joined a church. That's when I started getting some kind of making some kind of relationships and stuff because it's like, wait, we're gonna be here for a while, and we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really depends on your job. I mean, I have friends in all different branches, and I mean, sometimes depending on your job, you're at one base for the entire 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, it's one of those things where some jobs you deploy every 6 months, and it depends on the base too. When we were stationed in Nebraska, that base and his squadron he was in, they deployed every 6 months. Like they were a constant rotation. So it's like you're gone for 6 months, you're back for 6, 8, and then you're getting ready to deploy again. And then by the time a year rolls around, you're gone again. Versus other bases to where you may stay put for a year or so, then you deploy, or then you PCS. Depends if you apply for a special duty position or not. It really just, it's kind of up in the air.
Yeah, like I know we stayed at Bragg for that long because he was airborne. You know, Fort Bragg is an airborne station.
Yeah.
But once he dropped his airborne status, like he didn't jump anymore. I think maybe 6 months to a year later, that's when we PCS to Louisiana. So it is like your job and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Definitely. And even more specifically to the base, Air Force anyways, it's the command to be more specific of the base. So when me and my husband met, we were in Georgia, and I think they have 3 different commands.
Mm-hmm.
I was in AFMC, for anybody who's watching, for AFMC, which was it was half and half military and civilians in that command. Then there was also a reserve command, and then there was the air mobility command. And my husband was in the mobility command. So he deployed a lot. So he's been deployed, since we met. He was in and out deploying while I was in what they call fixed comm. I was in the part of the communication squadron that was pretty much in charge of, that side of the base. So yeah, even one base can have a bunch of different commands and different functions to it. Like here at Bowling, this joint base here that has all these different things, but hey, Air Force is taking over, so things is changing. Looking up, it's looking up.
They are. Have you guys ever gotten the question on, do you ever see, like, how often do you get to see family?
Not that question, but
I'm not asking that question, but I have gotten asked. Well, not so much as asked. Like when something's going on, Christmas, Thanksgiving, somebody's having a baby, they assume that I can just get up and come, and it's like, we'll see. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or if we have to put in leave or something, they're like, wait, what? You can't just come? Like, no, I can't just hop in a car and leave. I mean, I can and the kids, but it takes, you have to go through people. You have to do things to get that time off to come. So it ain't just like, hey, next week, such and such is doing this. And it's like, hey, y'all come. Like, we can't.
Nope.
Yeah. And it's difficult. And sometimes it could be hard to explain to someone because usually it's family that comes and sees you. And that's a lot easier because you can't, like you said, up and leave. And unfortunately, depending on command's decisions, and if they have leave blocks, and sometimes those are on times to where you would be able to go. It really depends. And it's always a what if. It's always a question. And it can be hard, for sure.
I hate that when you make plans, and the Army's like, nope. It's like, dang
Yep.
it. We weren't going to do that, but.
1 foot out the door and then back in.
Yep. So I got a fellow vet who was on fixed comm, and she deployed. I never deployed either. So doesn't mean that everyone's going to get the opportunity to deploy, or if you want to call it an opportunity, but yeah, I never deployed. With family, not everyone's family will come. So not all of us do have family to come and help when deployments happen, or have family there that you can go. Because what I used to see a lot, well, what I still see is, if your spouse is deployed, we haven't even defined what a deployment is yet. So for anyone who's viewing who does not know what a deployment is, a TDY, which is temporary duty, is when your spouse can be gone for 1 day up to maybe 3 or 4 months. That is a TDY. A deployment is anywhere from 4 months to a year. And then they can do a short tour, which is being gone for 1 year. Sometimes it could be, depending on your branch or where you fall in your service commitment, sometimes it could be 6 months, but it's mostly a whole year. You got to do 1 year overseas. So I defined all that, and I forgot what I was about to say about deployments. Oh, so I've seen when someone's spouse goes like TDY, right? I could see like a neighbor, they pack up their house and they leave. They leave and they go to their family. So, and not all of us have that. Not all of us have that to where, like when a baby is born or whatever, either your family comes to you or you get to go to them. And so people think that they're really like we have it made, or that it's automatic, like we said earlier, that you have this community drawn because like on TV, that's how it is. Like, no, sometimes you just got to do it by yourself.
Yep. Like in Louisiana, we had three kids there, and we just had to like, hey, can you watch the can you watch it while I go, have this baby, then I come right back and get them. Like, you have to depend on basically strangers. You don't have that that family help for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where, one thing I do like is when you move on a military base, we all at least have that understanding to where if you ask your neighbor who's a stranger, can you watch my kid for this time really quick, or do you mind? It's almost an automatic yes, because again, we understand and we've been in that position one way or another, whether you have kids or don't, or if you have to watch a pet. We've all been there.
Yeah, your neighbor is like your first friend. Hopefully you get good neighbors.
Hopefully,
yeah.
Hopefully.
Neighbors.
So I remembered my son's question like 2 minutes ago, but luckily he typed it himself. So if you or your children, ever been asked if you come in contact with the president a lot?
No.
I said no. My kids haven't asked it. My kids haven't asked it. Have been asked it, and I haven't either.
Really?
I've never.
I would say, depending on your job, with my husband being with Honor Guard here at our base, their job does consist of possibly having to like post a flag or something, or if you see like at the 4th of July event at the White House and stuff, you'll see a lot of military members, usually Honor Guard. That'd be the only time they would really see him, but it's not like a high five, how you doing type of a thing. Or at Arlington, if they're doing the wreath lane. So I mean, but it's not like a everyday thing at all.
I've never been asked that question, but what has been said, kind of seriously, but jokingly, but you don't really know how to take it sometimes. Like when you're talking to family, for instance, well, me talking to family, and they want to complain about whatever is happening, and then they say, "Won't you go tell the president?" We can't tell the president nothing. Go tell him what? I have
Like,
the same line of
I'll lose
communication.
my job.
Twitter fingers, telling that. No.
Misconception. They feel like I know a lot of people feel like there's always a war. Like there's always like they're out fighting this imaginary war. It's like there's no war going on right now. Like we're not. They're at home. He's like no.
Yeah. We're watching the football game. I mean, I don't know what he wanted to. Yeah.
I don't know. I know a lot of people assume that. I'm like, no, he's at work. He'll be home at 5. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Is he home? Is he home? Yeah, he's home.
I'm like, yeah, he'll be here at 5, unless his chain of command want to keep him a little later, but he'll be here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I guess for tonight, hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah.
I got something to go to at 8. So I'm gonna make this the last thing. Unless y'all really want to roll, then we can keep going.
I got nothing.
One night. I can miss one night. The other thing that we have written down here for tonight is spouses thinking that they're supposed to get special privilege or the same courtesies and respect that their spouse does.
Whew.
People are trying to wear their spouse's rank.
You have, I'll say this, which this just grinds my gears. You have spouses like that try to use, oh, well, my spouse is this, or they know this, or I should. I mean,
the story that you hear.
The majority you don't have. I mean, we're not all like that at all. We're just normal people who just like to relax, and you let the person in front of you go. I mean, not all of us are like that at all.
I know like women, there's like, you have the spouses page, and one lady posts, she's like, aren't people supposed to salute me? No, why? Are you in the service? Like, no, my husband's an officer. Why aren't people saluting me? You no, you don't do that. You don't get that. Yeah. I don't, or those car tags that says I am my husband's rank.
Yeah.
No.
You only wear their last name.
It's like we only get their last names. No, we don't get the extra stuff. But I thought that was hilarious. Like literally, I've seen so much of that. We don't have to salute you, honey. Like no.
Do you need help getting a can of soup off a shelf? I don't know what to tell you.
You want me to help? I can help you somewhere, but I'm not going to salute you because your husband's an officer. And
I wonder, do they even know how to salute? I wonder.
It's like, who told you that?
Because some people don't even know how to salute.
Oh, when you hear that, how dare you? Do you know who my husband is?
Oh gosh,
and I don't care.
Mm-hmm. and that's the sad part, I'll say, because again, in the military, again, we've all gone through a lot of the same things in one way or another, different avenues. So you would think there'd be more of an understanding, but unfortunately, you do have people in every branch that try to wear that hat, but the majority, no.
I'm gonna laugh at you and keep on going about my business.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm gonna get my coffee and I'm just gonna go for a walk.
Need my coffee and I'm just gonna go. Have a good day. Wait for me to salute you.
Yeah. I'm just gonna out the door.
I've seen it in like, it's not that way, but
Mhm.
like in the how do I say it? Like in a meeting or at a social event
Mhm.
is where they were expecting like the same treatment. Like
Like
they
the military balls.
go through the line first or like whatever. No, you're gonna get in the line when you fall in the line. If you sat down and somebody else,
Behind me.
no,
I,
no. Sorry,
it's
is
like
your
at the military balls when you're going to get like a drink or something. You're like, I'm getting my wine first. What are you gonna do?
You
yeah.
can kind of tell the way they look. They like
They give you
lady,
that look.
just go sit down. Like
Yeah, is yeah, there's so much more that can be talked about that can be discussed. So yeah,
I have to do it again.
most definitely. So I try to remember that like this was the key, one of the key reasons why I started the channel was to discuss things and spread knowledge to those of you out there who are not in the military. I wanted to get a piece and a glimpse of military life and also diplomats. When I started the channel, I was a diplomat. But of course, coming back to the States and coming back on a military base, I got caught just into the everyday living and everybody knows what I'm talking about. But for those of you out there who are still got questions about military life and misconceptions, that was the point of the channel. So if you're viewing this later, please type a question and we'll do this panel again later. Another time, do another one and do as many as it takes, to keep you informed. Y'all have any seconds?
Nope, I'm good.
Thank you for letting us do this. I had fun.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. Hopefully next time we'll get some more branches represented. There's room for everybody. I didn't forget about the Coast Guard.
Yeah, that's another thing too. They're not even. I know we got to go. They're under the Homeland Response Force, Homeland Security, Coast Guard.
Something.
Yeah, and they're two step. That's a whole nother thing. They have their own challenges.
Yeah, something like that. So remember, guys, if nobody told you today, I love you. You're here for a purpose. Take care of yourself. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Get it.
Left my past all on the floor. I've been trying to keep it moving. Now we going north, going up 2, 3, up 2, 3. Got the joy inside of me because I can't do this anymore. Left my past all on the floor. I've been trying to keep it moving. Now we going north, going up 2, 3, up 2, 3. Got this joy inside of me because I got the money. We've been really moving places, always on the low. I was trying in the tunnel cause I got the glow. People really hating it, it really starts to show, yeah. We gon' level up again, cause that's just how we roll, yeah. Came in with the toss, yeah. Learned out from the boss, yeah. I've been learning lessons from the struggles and the loss. Praying for communion for the races since we lost.
Yeah. Hey, I can't do this anymore.
Left my past all on the floor. I've been trying to keep it moving. Now we going north, going up 2, 3, up 2, 3.